report, and we have a Forest Preserve Representative Linda Painter with us this evening. Linda, do you want to come forward regarding? We invited Linda to come forward to come to our city council meeting to discuss the issue of coyotes, which all municipalities are dealing with now. So, Linda, you're going to have to pull that microphone down for your benefit.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Linda Painter. I'm the commissioner for the DuPage County Forest Preserve District, and I represent District 3, which is the district we're in. I have a program for each of you, and I will pass them out. I would like to introduce our naturalist from the Forest Preserve. His name is Jack Mcrae, and his specialty is coyotes, and he works at the Willowbrook Wildlife Center. And so he'll do the majority of the talk, and then I'll follow up at the end.
You'll stick around.
Oh yeah, no,
You'll be
when
right
he's
by
finished.
right by his side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a cute little visual aid, so when
Okay,
he's done,
all right.
I'll show you.
Okay.
We'll save the best for last. My name is Jack Mcrae, 223 East Hillside, Naperville, Illinois, and I've been in this line of work for 33 years now. And one of the things that I talk quite a bit about is coyotes at this time of year. This is the 8th time I've been invited to talk about coyotes to groups such as yourselves. I only have 3 more to do this spring. Typically I talk about coyote natural history, coyote behavior, threats to pets, threats to humans, and what to do if you encounter a coyote. Each of those topics usually takes 10 to 15 minutes. I know I don't have that much time today, but I'm not going to cut myself short too much. Coyotes are not as big an animal as people tend to believe. I do have a collar that fits over a coyote. If people want to look at it, that's the neck size of a coyote. I have a Labrador Retriever at home. He is the exact height and length of a coyote. He weighs twice as much. The coyotes we get at Willowbrook Wildlife Center never exceed 35 pounds. They are lithe, wiry animals. They have been increasing in population in this area. I think the population has leveled off for the last 10 years. It's not like it was in the 1980s when it was on a trajectory. We have a lot of coyotes in the area. Every community in the Chicago region has coyotes. If you live within a golf course, within a mile of a golf course, or a cemetery, or a forest preserve, railroad tracks, a creek, you're in coyote habitat. They are here to stay. They're one of the most adaptable animals, certainly in the world. They are always curious and trying to see what they can get away with. They're like children in that regard. If they can go into somebody's backyard without a negative occurrence, they'll remember they can go into that backyard. If they go into the backyard and something negative happens to them, they remember that too. It behooves us as humans to keep them in their place. We need to scare them. We need to make sure that they're not getting more and more bold around us. I get telephone calls saying the coyotes are getting more aggressive. They're not getting more aggressive, but they are getting bold. They're getting used to us. It used to be you could clap your hands on your back porch and coyotes would run away. Now they look at you and wonder who's the person clapping and why are they clapping. Coyotes out in rural areas are scared of cars, let alone a car honking. Coyotes around here don't care about cars or cars honking. We have to make sure we do things that they don't expect so they stay wary. So they're not coming into our backyards comfortably. They do come into our backyards. They do go after our pets. They do not go after humans, but they do go after pets, and that's one of the emotional things that I have to deal with. I hate talking to people who have lost pets. They're like family members. They are family members. If you have a pet, watch it. You have to be a responsible pet owner. We have the coyotes around here. A lot of people ask me, what happens if we try to get rid of them? If we try to eradicate the coyotes? It won't work. There's no animal in North America history that's been tried to have been eradicated more than coyotes. And the studies show it is worthless to try and remove coyotes from an area. If you have good coyote habitat and you take the coyotes out of that habitat, other coyotes are going to know it's good coyote habitat. The way they hammer their prey population, bunny rabbits, Canada geese, voles, little rodents, and things like that, if you remove the coyotes, those populations increase terrifically. That just attracts more coyotes. The more coyotes know there's more food, they're going to have larger litters. It's just the way coyotes behave. Harris County, Texas, had a $10 million 10-year project to eradicate coyotes from Harris County. At the end of the $10 million, there were more coyotes in Harris County than when they started the program. Don't do anything like that. As a taxpayer in DuPage County, I don't want to see the money spent on something that would be that foolish. What we need to do is change our behavior around coyotes, and they'll change our behavior around them. Education is always better when it's going in more than one direction. I love answering questions. I can address
Well,
any
I
comments
guess you just
have.
addressed a question that I had was, why can't you cull the coyotes? Especially for us, it's your forest preserves that are affecting us. Why can't you cull them like you cull the deer?
You would end up with more coyotes. They're not like deer. Deer are prey animals. Deer are herbivores. Coyotes are carnivores. Their population is entirely dictated by how much food there is. There's a lot of food here. It's the Canada geese. 40% of Canada goose nests get encountered by coyotes, either eating eggs or goslings. The bunny rabbits. You know, we can pass it off to the cat leash law that was passed, I know, in Naperville about 25 years ago. After that, the chipmunk population skyrocketed. Right after that, the coyotes moved into downtown. There are generations of coyotes that live in the loop of Chicago that have never lived anywhere but. There's coyotes that den in the grounds of the Art Institute and the Field Museum campus. A den is just a place for the young to be raised from April, May, June, July. After that, coyotes don't use dens. They live wherever they find a comfortable place to live. Removing coyotes has never worked in North America.
Do any of the council members have questions? Yes.
You s-
Alderman Belke, go ahead.
Yes, you said that, it would be in our best interest to scare them away. What other tactics do you use to scare them?
I brought something with me. No coyote is going to
I don't like that.
It's as simple as carrying a plastic bag in your pocket. No coyote is going to stand and see what just happened.
What else can we do?
Blow a whistle, clap, if you can clap loudly. Like I said, coyotes looking at somebody just doing this at the backyard isn't going to do a thing. Take steps towards them. Charge them. They are not going to stay. It's what your comfort level may be, though. People have asked about pepper spray, things like that. If you feel more comfortable carrying pepper spray, that coyote might pick up on your confidence level being raised.
That's when I come in with my visual aid.
Well, I think Alderman Seifert has a question also.
I live by a creek.
Sure.
And I've lived there for a long time. And I've always mistakenly, I guess, thought they were nocturnal mostly.
Mostly.
Yet, because I'd see the tracks in the snow in the morning, or if I let the dogs out at 5:30, then sometimes we'd see a coyote.
Yeah.
But it seems like this year more than ever, I'm seeing them during the daytime.
During the winter, coyotes are more conspicuous during the daytime. Come June, July, you won't see them in the daytime. You're right. Typically, they are nocturnal. They come out when the sun's going down. They tend to go, seek shelter when the sun is coming up. But seeing a coyote at 10 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon is not a cause for alarm. There's nothing wrong with the coyote. He's just out at that time.
Because I know I've never really worried about my dogs during the day, and now at 11:30 in the morning on a Sunday, I've one of my not so bright dogs chasing the coyote. So I was just wondering about that.
Yeah. If to be a responsible pet owner, you got to watch your pets 24 hours a day.
Linda, do you have other techniques?
I went to a seminar a few weeks ago that was put on by the Conservation Foundation, and the speaker has done a lot of research on coyotes, and I asked him his suggestions afterwards. And I had heard, as he said, pepper spray. But I had also heard that pepper spray only shoots like 10 feet, and personally, I don't care to get within 10 feet of the coyote myself. So, but I do have a dog, and I'm very concerned about. I've gotten numerous complaints, as I'm sure you have, of seeing them in packs and groups of coyotes. I've also heard that what they do, and it's pretty interesting, is one coyote comes out of the pack and tries to get a dog to come after them, and then once the dog is in the open, then the whole pack attacks the single dog. I've also heard that someone told me today there were 2 collies that were attacked by one coyote. So it's certainly a problem, and I'm hearing the same thing you are. So, and what I got out of that program, there were several things that I got out of it. Is don't feed them. And what you had addressed is, the forest preserve, we don't see too many coyotes in the forest preserves. There aren't a lot of meat. There's not a lot of meat. They're carnivores. They're looking for meat. Where do they find the meat? Garbage cans, dogs, like you said, rabbits, and other rodents and squirrels and those kind of things. And those are found in our communities. So I don't have statistics, but I believe that there's more coyotes in the communities than there are in the forest.
Linda, you just made a statement that piqued my interest. My understanding was that they would go after a dog because they consider the dog interfering in their territory. Now did you just suggest that they were attacking dogs as food?
Oh, I think so. No. Oh, he says no. He's the expert,
You
so-
shouldn't have left. You should have stayed up here. Yes.
Come on back.
Because I'm going to open the floor to the residents too, to ask questions.
And the thought that they're smart enough to lure dogs, no, that's a complete myth. They don't hunt that way.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Well,
But
keep
anyway,
him there.
so this gentleman said, that was the speaker, when I asked about pepper spray,
Yeah.
he said certainly works. And I said, but my concern is it doesn't go far enough. Now, someone had told me that you could use hornet spray because it shoots like 20 feet. But then when I asked him about that, he said those are pretty harsh chemicals and they could hurt either the coyotes permanently, or he also said if you're using any of these methods, don't use it when the wind's blowing at you because it could be you that gets it in your eyes. So, so what he recommended, and I was totally flabbergasted, but there is such a thing, and I found out, he said, use bear spray. Now, bear spray, I said, now where in suburban Chicago do you buy bear spray? He said, I tried Dick's, he said a sporting goods store. I actually found it at Bass Pro Shop. And that's bear spray, and it's basically the pepper spray, and it doesn't provide permanent damage to either the coyote or yourself should it get in your eyes, but it shoots 35 feet. Now, if you've got a coyote in your yard and is in some way intimidating you or your pet, and you want to make him go away, I have never tried this, but I will keep it in my back on my porch so that in case I need to use it, if I ever feel threatened or have my dog threatened, I have something that I feel very confident that would make him go away. And I've talked to someone that said they used it and that coyote never came back because they remembered that dog or the coyote was not wanted in their yard.
Yes. Okay. Alderman Abshi, I think you have a question.
Yes, I have a couple questions for Jack. You said to scare the animal, like with the bag or something else. Are there any times of the year or any situations where you may not want to do that, like if they have their litter or something like that? Are they known to attack people for any reason?
There's no known attacks on humans in Illinois. There was an incident where a man said he might have been attacked by a coyote in Aurora last winter, and that turned out to be a domestic dog. But since there are no attacks, now any animal that feels cornered or threatened may defend itself. Mm-hmm. If you find any wild animal in your garage, give it a way out. Don't try and approach it. If you're able to find a coyote den, and they're very secretive, their holes are a volleyball fits will plug up a hole of a coyote den. They're small little holes. If you do encounter one, the coyote is going to run away. They're not going to defend the den.
I had one other question. I'm not going to suggest that we introduce them in our neighborhoods, but what are the natural predators of coyotes in the wild?
There's none.
Wolves.
Wolves?
Yeah. That's just what we need is wolves and
Right,
that.
yeah. No, if people are scared of coyotes,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, Brian?
I wasn't going to suggest that.
Jack, there's
Yeah.
a number of residents in town that have fences and think that that protects their dogs. And I know I've been told coyotes can hop certain fences and others are better or worse.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about
Sure.
that.
Chain link fences, a 3-foot chain link fence a coyote can hop over. A 6-foot chain link fence a coyote can climb over. Wooden fences with horizontal slats, coyotes can get a foothold and climb over. Fences with vertical slats, coyotes cannot climb over. They do sell with chain link fences a thing called a coyote roller that fits on the top rail and it spins. So when coyotes put their paws on that, they can't go all the way over. That's only effective though with the taller 6-foot chain link fences. If a coyote can see something it sees something on the other side of a fence and it wants that, it can usually find a way inside to get it. If it can't see something, it doesn't know it's there necessarily. It's not going to go to the effort to get it. So these big opaque fences are probably better at keeping coyotes out than a chain link fence would be.
Can you put things around the fence, like maybe, I don't know, wolf urine or products or
I
things
don't-
they might have? Nothing?
You can buy coyote urine to keep away things like raccoons, possums, skunks. I don't think you can keep coyotes out.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more questions from the council, I'd like to open it to the audience. Would anybody in the audience like to address any questions to Linda or Jack? Ross, do you want to come forward, or?
Good evening, Mayor. Thanks for having the speakers here tonight. I live in Alderman Seaford's ward, and I have quite intimate knowledge of coyotes. I have a 12-pound spaniel that was attacked in my backyard about 2 years ago when I was standing just 10 feet away. It was attacked by a coyote. I was able to fend it off with a shovel, but I would respectfully disagree with your assertion that coyotes don't look at small dogs as food, because I certainly believe they do. I've lived in Darien for 25 years. It's only been in the last 4 or 5 years that we've had this problem. 20 years ago, we weren't talking about coyote attacks. 10 years ago, I didn't used to see coyotes running up Cass Avenue at night coming into town. 5 years ago, I didn't have coyotes sighted almost daily in my neighborhood. So I think the problem has gotten worse. I'm not sure what the reason for that is. If you could address that, I would certainly like to know why the sudden explosion in the coyote population. And I just think that, unfortunately, we're headed to a situation where right now we're concerned with pets being attacked. In our neighborhood, there's a lot of seniors that live in the apartments and the condos near us. A lot of them have small dogs. They walk those dogs at night, and I fear that at some point in the future, one of them is going to get injured by multiple coyotes attacking that dog, and they're trying to defend it. So I'm not sure what we can do, but I think we need to be even more proactive than we are now.
Jack, response? Thanks, Ross.
One thing about the coyotes in the Chicago region, they're the most studied coyotes in the world right now. 17 years of thorough research, scientific research. So it's that base of knowledge gives us the information, the scientific information. Since coyotes are so adaptable, things that I'm telling you tonight may be wrong 50 years from now. Things we knew about coyotes 50 years ago are different today. That's how adaptable these animals are. The question of do they eat dogs and cats? Less than 1.7% of their scat shows, in the Chicago region, shows pets. In San Diego County, it's over 20%. There they do eat cats and dogs. Here, the scats just don't show it. Ohio State University has had researchers looking at coyote scat all these years. They know what the coyotes eat around here. It's more of a natural diet.
At the seminar, what they found in the other gentleman that gave this talk, they found steak, all kinds of chicken bones, all kinds of things that we eat and that are in our garbage. And they've talked to people that have put out, he said there are people that put out 50 pounds of food on a daily basis to feed the coyotes and other animals in the area. So a lot of it is what we put out that's available to them. That's why I believe when we're in the forest preserves, you rarely ever see a coyote. They're more in the residential areas, and the forest preserve can't do anything off of our property. So that's one of the reasons it's kind of a fruitless effort for us to do anything as far as that goes.
Yeah, I just,
The studies seem to show that there are as many coyotes outside forest preserves as inside forest preserves. When they're in the forest preserves, though, there's usually a lot more vegetation and natural landscaping for them to hide in. When they're running across turf, lawn, bluegrass, then they're much more easy to see. But the ones that are collared, and I think there's about 600 collared coyotes in the Chicago region right now that we can track, pinpoint exactly where they are. They do cross between forest preserves into golf courses, into cemeteries, railroad tracks, creeks, all across. They're not staying in our forest preserves. They're not staying in our neighborhoods. They're moving through all of them.
what about, Jack, what about injecting, shooting darts or something at the female coyotes in order to stop them from?
Birth control type thing?
Yes.
I don't know anything about, I know with the deer management that we do with the forest preserve, birth control isn't an option because of just the administrative nightmare of giving a female a dose and then finding that female to give her the booster shot 6 months later. It doesn't work with wild animals unless you can identify that animal as an individual. That usually means putting a big number on their sides, so you can see it, so you know what to do with that animal. There's no oral birth controls available where you can just feed a bunch of them at one time. It's all through an injection and injection with regular booster shots. I don't see how that could happen.
There's got to be a way. I mean, if you just showed us a collar that you can monitor an animal by.
Those animals are caught with a trap where they go into the door slammed shut. They do a blood draw, they measure it, they weigh it, they put that on it. Like I said, I think there's 600, 700 with collars on in the Chicago region
Already?
at all times, yeah.
And couldn't you give them birth control to at least stop that population from growing?
We're dealing with maybe 10% of the population. There's, they harvest, they hunt and trap 9,000 coyotes a year in Illinois. That's a drop in the bucket. When we're dealing with 600 and, that's a small percentage. I don't think anybody would notice.
Oh,
Yeah,
Brian?
Sometimes we'll hear about different animals that are categorized as protected in Illinois, and sometimes I don't always know the real definition. I hear that about geese or things.
Sure.
What is the status of coyotes? Are they
can shoot
protected
it.
from hunters or from?
No protection on coyotes. You can shoot them 365 days a year.
Okay.
With any size handgun,
There you go.
with any size magazine.
How do
You
you feel
can
about
use
that, Jake?
electronic calls. You can use light shining. It's from an hour before sun up to an hour after sundown, except in deer hunting season, and then you can shoot them 24 hours a day. There's no protection on coyotes.
Is there an ordinance about that?
Oh, in DuPage County, you can't discharge guns though. So that's
Yeah, that becomes a moot point then, yes.
right. And you need a license. You need a license for any hunting.
John?
I was just curious. It seems like if I would go back 5 or 10 years, we used to have a larger deer population, and you've reduced that population.
Yeah.
Have you now reduced their food source for the coyote?
Coyotes can catch a fawn for the first 3 weeks of a fawn's life.
Right.
After that, any deer can outrun
But
any coyote.
You did increase the amount of reduction in the deer population, so they have less food.
But they rarely eat deer. Rarely eat deer.
They're
It's the
hungry,
bunny
yeah.
rabbits and the voles, the squirrels and the geese. That's what they eat. And that's what the scat shows us. It's not conjecture, it's not speculation. This is what the scientists looking at
What
who
is our
study
deer
this.
population now?
What is our deer population?
Deer. deer?
We try and keep it around 15 deer per square mile is the maximum carrying capacity. I'm guessing some of the preserves have more than that.
I've been told that the last aerial count was 91 deer in Waterfall Glen.
Any other questions?
There was
Anyone in the audience? Jack?
Is there a decibel level device that could be put in a tree to warn against them? Is there some kind of device like that that they may not, you know, there are other devices like that for animals, for rabbits, for coons, and things like that, but if you ever heard of using something like that?
I've never heard of anything like that. I do know that the ultrasonic things to keep rodents away from your house usually are 100% ineffective.
Ineffective?
Ineffective.
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 I would imagine they'd adapt just like they'd adapt to everything else.
But you know, I did want to address the increase of coyotes. Absolutely, they have increased from 1970 until now. The number of coyotes is on a huge trajectory. The last 10 years, I think it's leveled off, and most of the studies show they have. But the coyotes that we do have, if they are more bold, then they're more conspicuous and you would see them more. So I'm not disagreeing that somebody may see more coyotes, but there may not be more coyotes, if that makes sense.
Jack, Linda, we appreciate your time, and I think we would like to continue using both of you as a resource in the future for.
Any time at all.
We get criticized a great deal, frankly, by our citizens that we aren't doing something. So it's very important that we have information that that we can share with residents. Thank you.